Hello and welcome back to yet another episode on the BM Valeting YouTube channel. Back on the test golf. You're just behind the blue line, you're sitting on the bonnet. Obviously we wouldn't do that with a client's car, but we've decided to do a 50-50 down the whole car. You're on the side that's not getting touched. So, it's been washed, detarred, by removing all the little tar deposits that flick up from the road. We're now left with what most people would assume a very clean car, but we're not. If you listen to the paintwork, it's pretty much like that all over. So what that is tiny microscopic little contaminants that are bonded to the paintwork, whether that's iron fallout, tree sap, sometimes glue. We've already detarred it and de-glued it. It's unlikely that there's going to be glue on such an old car. Usually on the newer cars from packaging, or ex-demo cars where they might have had sign writing on them, there's often quite a lot of glue. But in this case, it would appear to be general fallout, so tree sap, brake dust. We don't really know too much about the history of this car, but if it's been parked up in a train station car park or by a railway station, chances are the brake dust from the trains has settled on the tops of the surfaces. Now, on a black car, you will struggle to see what the contamination actually is. On a white car, it's a hell of a lot easier because you can see the colour against the white background of the car, and you can just generally take a closer look at it. But for this instance, we're just going to go with general build up of grime that's just bonded in over the years. Can't really say what it is, but we've got several types of clay. We've got the bilt hamber soft. Is that soft? Yeah, soft clay, a medium clay, and a regular, which are used for getting off various different paint contaminants. And we've got this one. This one is very rough. To some extent, all of these will mar the paintwork, depending on how rough you are with it. If you use the softer one carefully, the marring is very hard to spot. The regular, a little bit more marring, but that's just the general nature of clay bar. Now this one, obviously you won't be able to feel it, you probably won't even be able to see it, but that has actually got a very rough surface just on its own. So naturally, this one here would be our very last resort. There is some stuff down on the lower side of the car, which we are going to use that one on. We're not even going to bother using any of these because we know that those won't touch it. So the process for using clays. Now we're only going to do half the bonnet, because we're only doing half the car. That's an old bit of clay that I just keep on the top. Let's start with a medium. Let's put the kettle on. Kettle's been on, and we've made ourselves a lovely cup of clay bar. So we've got in here two different types of clay. There's a soft, there's a medium and a regular. Not really sure what the difference is, but this water's really hot, so I'm going to use long tweezers. That's the one from the blue. Let it cool down. that's the one that we just got out. Softens it up a little bit like Play-Doh. This is literally just water in here. Not much need for fancy clay lubes. So you can hear as I move closer towards you that it's rough, and if I move back here, it's clean. Because that's what it's taken off of the surface. So I think for the majority of it, the majority of this car, we will get away with using the medium clay, which does give a nice finish. If you can hear that, versus that. So we'll do this bonnet. Always check your clay intermittently. And listen as well. Because if you get a little tiny bit of grit in there, it'll make a really high pitch, like scratching noise. Then you know to stop and inspect the clay to see if you can remove it. Needing it up and twisting it to reveal new fresh clay or clean clay. It's not new and it's not fresh, it's the same but so before any machine polishing work is done to any car, this is what we do, because the polishing pad, if you were to polish this without decontaminating it, the polishing pad will literally pick it up and just keep moving it around on the paint. So while you're polishing out the defects, you'll be putting more defects in and you'll just be chasing your tail. Is the simplest way that I can explain that. So now if we get a drying towel, you can now hear when I rub a hand on it that that's a smooth surface versus that there. It is a little bit wet there, so it's not the full noise. The back there is uncontaminated. Here, decontaminated. So there's a much smoother surface for when we come to polishing. So in addition to the different types of clay bar, there's also a clay bar mitt. Now, a clay bar mitt will never be a direct swap for a clay bar. A lot of people think that this is a replacement for this, and it's not. The reason being is tricky areas. That is a massive great surface. It's brilliant for getting large areas quickly. They can be quite rough, so they do mar quite a lot of the time. They will mar the paintwork. So that's fine for doing big areas, but when you come down to this area where dirt tends to sit and accumulate on the paintwork, you just can't get that corner into that 90-degree angle. So it's handy to have both. You can do everything with a clay bar, but you can't necessarily get every single little bit with a clay mitt. For example, another example, just up here on the door handle, that's a hell of a job to get that mitt up in there. Putting excess pressure on this lip, whereas a clay bar, you can just mould it to the same shape as the door handle recess along the top of this panel here. This little lip, you run the risk of this running along your rubber. Don't really think that it would do anything to the rubber, but it's just easier to use a clay bar. Because once again, you can pinch it and mould it to fit right into that little groove. Keep it lubricated. Get right up into the corner. Done. And that's why I always prefer clay bar versus clay pad, clay towel, clay block, clay mitt. It's always a clay bar for me. Roughness to the paint. A lot of people think that when their paint is rough to the touch, or they've got lots of things that are bonded to their paintwork, what their car needs is a mop and tea cut or a mop and polish. It's not. 9 times out of 10, what it needs, clay bar. You could do it with a machine polish, but all you'll be doing is pulling off the contaminants. So let's say that's a contaminant. That's a contaminant. Basically all these little blue bits, contaminants. Okay, so there's contaminants. Your polish pad's going to come along. You're pulling that up in your polish pad, like that. And then your polish pad's going like this, all over your paint. And that will put in defects as you're taking them out. So essentially chasing your tail. This car is now smooth to the touch. There's a little tiny bit of dust in the air, which is a little bit annoying, but as you can hear, smooth. Whereas if we rub this side, much rougher. That's still a little bit there. We'll just go over and redo this little bit here. Or is that just dust? It was just dust. A light little bit of dust can make a hell of a difference, which is why if you're doing clay barring or any type of machine polishing, we do it inside. Keeps the dust down, and then you don't mistake dust for bonded contaminants. So that's prepped as much as we want to prep this particular car. I'm going to have a play around with some polishes on the bonnet. Might be in the next video, and hopefully I'll see you there.